Now, a big warm welcome to award-winning investigative journalist and veteran lobby correspondent, none other than David Hencke. Hello, David. How are you?
I am fine, and I'm delighted to be on your show as well again.
Yeah, it's lovely to speak to you again, and you know we've spoken many times in the past, and it's always good to talk to you. And yes, we're doing another 1950s women's special today, aren't we? And we've got some really important issues to talk about.
Yeah, we have actually. I mean, we've got a new government, and it's going to depend on what they decide to do about it.
Yeah, that's it.
Years of waiting.
Yes,
nothing happening.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was just wondering, David, will other unions follow Sharon Graham's lead? The money is there to increase the state pension, lower the state pension age, and invest in public services. This government's primary task must be to redistribute that wealth and realign society so that our economy is directed by need, not by profit. And that's Sharon Graham, the General Secretary of the Union Unite.
Well, I agree with the sentiments, actually, of it, that basically there is quite a lot of money, although the Tories in their last year actually reduced future monies going into the National Insurance Fund. But I think she also wanted to lower the pension age to 60, and actually I don't think that's the best use of money at all, because it will be better to continue increasing the state pension in the UK, because we're still one of the lowest numbers of sort of money altogether, actually, because it's still, compared with other sort of wealthy countries, our pension is quite pathetic, actually. And the Tories, to do them justice, have through the triple lock of gradually increasing it, and it looks like Labour continue, but they could go much further. And to actually reduce the pension age back to 60 would cost an absolute fortune, and also really detract from the case that is put by the 50s women and Cedar in Law about the injustice that they suffered alone, and that is, the government would see it as an expensive thing to have to do, but actually something that should be done. So I'm not in favour of reducing the pension age for everybody back to 60, or at least for women. But I am in favour of increasing the pension age. Increasing the pension.
Yeah.
And actually, I've got strong views about, where we are compared to the league of other European countries as well. And I think you want to ask me about that as well.
Yes, I do actually, yes, because one of the questions was, if France repealed the state pension age, should the UK also do so?
Yes, I mean, the pension at the age at the moment, I think, is 62 in France, and it's actually was going to go up to 64. And that's, again, I don't think we should do this immediately. But what we should do instead is drop the plan to raise the pension age again from 2026 to 2028, which is not too far away. And the reason why I say that is that this increase was imposed because everybody thought people's life expectancy was going up. It's actually stalled, and among poor areas has fallen. And if, in fact, we introduced a pension age of 67 rather than 66, it would mean that someone in the poorest parts of the country, for example in Blackpool, a man would, on average in parts of Blackpool, would die on almost the year they got their pension, whereas in other more prosperous parts of the country in the south, people were get their pension for much longer. And I actually think that there is no reason now to raise the pension age further. And if it was raised, it would put us in line with the two countries that have got the highest pension age in Europe, which are Denmark and Greece, where basically men don't get a pension till they're 67, or sometimes both sexes don't. And that, I think, is would actually mean, on top of actually having one of the lowest pensions, we would actually have the highest age for qualification, and I see no reason to do that actually at all, because basically there is now no the life expectancy, unfortunately, is for poorer people falling, and generally is static. It's not gone up as people expected it to do when the decisions were taken in the about 10 years ago or so on to start raising the age, actually. To be quite honest, then it's not a very enviable record for a new centre-left government to decide to make us both the poorest pension and the longest age for retirement, actually, highest age for retirement.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? I mean, the more you get towards pension age, you don't want it sort of slipping out of your hands, do you? You're almost there and it slips away and you've got to work another 2 years or whatever it goes up to.
Exactly, and I mean, for fairly, even the Conservative government decided they couldn't actually fix a date for it going up to 68, which I think was around 2030s, because of they delayed a decision to do that. But I actually think the Labour government could go further. The problem, what I don't know, is if they're sticking to the fiscal policies of the current Conservatives, they're going to basically, whether there's any provision, there might be provision, is assuming that they won't have to pay out quite so much for pensions from 2026. But it's it's just a rerun of what happened to the 50s women for all people over 2 years, suddenly starting to get their pension later and later. So I feel really strongly.
Now, moving on to the compensation element, should compensation be means tested for a cherry-picked few victims?
No way. To be quite honest, this is a disgrace to suggest this, because basically the reason why compensation or restitution is required is because that whole group certainly suffer from partial maladministration if you just take the minimum report from the parliamentary ombudsman. But if you take actually the broader view that it was also discrimination against that group because of their past history when they couldn't acquire such a strong pension, there is no way that they should do this. And also it's a much wider point than this, that if they decide to do this, it will create a precedent for other people. I mean, are we going to say the people who suffered from the contaminated blood vein, if they're well off, oh, well, you don't get any compensation for what happened? And are we going to say to the post office people, you're in quite a good position now, you can't have the compensation? Because these are cases of where there's been a massive injustice, and there's I really think it's an extremely bad idea to do this. And I don't know what the position is. It's going to be interesting. I know CEDAW and Law wouldn't accept such a thing. I mean, they would regard it as, less than crumbs, almost, because it's, it's only going to be a select few people who get it. And I don't know what WASP's position is going to be, because WASP seem to have, still be pursuing what is the limited compensation up to £3,000 of the Ombudsman, and not demanding anything else. So, I mean, I'm not. I wonder whether they will accept it, which will be appalling thing to do. Actually, if they did, I mean, it would be a betrayal of all of what they've been doing for the last 5 years. And I think it's. I mean, I really do think it's an obnoxious idea. And anyway, who's going to decide the most deserving pays? Will they have to be on pension credit to get this, or will they? Will they have to be disabled? Whereas, other people, who are still in relatively good health and so on, perhaps have a private pension on top, are not allowed to have anything, because actually it's compensated for injustice. It's not a handout.
Exactly.
What we've. I mean, it's also making a decision between the deserving and the undeserving, which is not on.
No, it's another level of discrimination, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, go back to the courts again if you're going to do this, actually, because it's wrong. So I'm really surprised that Labour have come with that. And also, actually, I might add that given there was a complete silence, blanket silence during the election campaign about what they were going to do about this by the two major parties. I mean, what was interesting was that the more minor parties, the Green, Plaid, all the Northern Ireland parties, all actually wanted the women to be compensated in varying degrees. And the Liberal Democrats said they wanted to, but didn't specify anything. But the really bad thing is the Conservatives and Labour were at one. They basically had the same policy. I won't look at it. And it's terribly complicated report. No, it isn't. We've got to study it for ages. No, you haven't, because you would have seen the draft report months before it was published and known the direction it was going as far as the Ombudsman was concerned. So I really do think that if they decide to go on this policy of, a discriminatory payment just to the few, that the Labour Party was really betrayed, these people. And especially as if you go back to 2019, John McDonnell, who was Shadow Chancellor then, actually said he would have to put about 58 billion to cover that. And the Labour Party have just done a complete U-turn on this. And you almost get the impression that they are thinking rather like the Tories, where, these are just elderly women who'll die off soon. We don't really have to bother too much about it. And we've got all these other pressing concerns to sort out. But the thing is, that's not the way the system works.
No.
Actually, it's completely wrong.
Yes.
And when further reports come out, I don't know what the report is going to say about the Grenfell Tower scandal, which has been an inquiry. I mean, are they going to discriminate compensation for people, who are in the town and say some are deserving, some are not? So I think it's a really, really bad precedent and actually should be stopped in its tracks.
Yeah, it's a sticky wicket, as you say, yes. Can we invite you to share your views on the general election results?
Well, I mean, it's really interesting. The opinion polls were right, actually.
Yeah, they were.
And I wasn't expecting, I thought it would probably narrow a bit, because it always had. But, I mean, what it was really a vote by everybody to get rid of the Conservatives. Because, I mean, if you look across the whole thing, I mean, Labour won lots of seats and got a very big majority. But in places where the Greens had targeted seats, they won all 4 seats, actually, that they had wanted to get. Well, the Lib Dems ended up with 72, the largest representation since the 1920s, where people had turned against. So basically, it was anybody but a Tory, as far as and also they were, in the independents. I mean, the exception was the SNP, where I think the situation in Scotland is different to England, where in fact the SNP had run into loads of trouble, and they'd had to replace their leader. There was some, potential criminal proceedings involving the SNP as well, police investigations, and I think people turned back to Labour there, and they won a. The Lib Dems also, they're now actually the supreme party of the Highlands, up to Orkney and Shetland as well.
Yes.
So my view was that's really what has happened. And actually, I would say this means Labour's got to be careful, because if they don't really deliver for people, whether it's the NHS, the pensions issue, the state of the environment, schools, I think they will lose support, and they have actually, they've got the problem, but reform, as well as having targeted the Conservative Party during this election fairly successfully. In many places they got 15 or 16% of the vote, will then target Labour, and then we'll have a government rather similar to potential Trump government. This is something I would not look forward to.
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. Very quickly, I wanted to ask you about this. We've probably covered this before, but the state pension age is said to be set to raise again. Is this justified?
No, it's not justified at all now. Until actually... until there's a real increase in life expectancy again, which there hasn't been for some time. I think it should stay at 66 for as long as it takes, because there's no justification for it at all. And also, it's getting into the realms. It's going to. This is also mainly affects men rather than women who tend to die earlier. It's actually going to possibly exclude some men from getting a pension at all. Yes. And that's not on. 66 is about the highest you can go without doing that, actually. Yeah. But if you go to 67, and certainly if you go to 68, you're actually really treating people really badly. It could lead to people thinking it's not worth saving for a pension.
Yes, of course. Yeah. David, it's lovely to speak to you again, and thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today, and I hope we speak very soon. But you've selected a record, haven't you? And I was wondering whether you'd like to introduce it.
Yes, it's just it's Don McLean's story of Vincent, actually, which is Starry, Starry Night. And I really chose this because there are lots of people around who are never appreciated for what they do in their lifetime. And it's a tribute to Vincent van Gogh, who is now sort of a mega painter, regarded as, and his paintings of him, but in his lifetime he wasn't. And I think that's why I feel there are a lot of people in this country who are not appreciated for what they do, and that's really why I chose the record.
Okay, David, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's nice talking to you again.
Yes, thank you.